Imagine this scenario. It's one of those perfect summer evenings. You're out
Mhm.
back, maybe grilling, the kids are running around, fireflies are starting to blink, just,
Right.
idyllic. But then you hear it, the little buzz near your ear. And yeah, we usually just swat, don't we? But there's this hidden risk buzzing around this year, making some, frankly, pretty serious headlines. West Nile virus. So this deep dive, it's all about West Nile virus. It's a topic getting a lot of attention in 2025, and maybe some concern too. Our goal today is really to unpack the information we've gathered. We'll cover what WNV actually is, why it seems to be trending this year, symptoms you should be aware of, and maybe most importantly, how you can protect yourself, your family, your community. Think of this as your shortcut to being really clued in on West Nile this summer. And here's something to kick us off, kind of startling actually. West Nile virus, first found in Uganda way back in 1937, only showed up here in the U.S. in 1999. But get this, in just over 20 years, it's become the most common mosquito-borne illness we deal with. And what's maybe even more surprising, around 80% of people who get infected, they show no symptoms at all, asymptomatic. Which sounds good, but for the unlucky few who get severe cases, the impact can be, well, devastating.
It really is remarkable, isn't it, how quickly something like that can spread and establish itself. And that asymptomatic piece is key. What we'll do today is take those basic facts and really connect them to what's happening right now in 2025 and, what it all means for you.
Okay, let's do that. So starting right at the beginning, what exactly is West Nile virus?
At its heart, it's a virus transmitted by mosquitoes. Its main cycle, its sort of natural home, is circulating between birds and mosquitoes.
Hmm.
A mosquito bites an infected bird, picks up the virus, then bites another bird, passes it on. That's the core engine.
Okay, birds and mosquitoes, but humans and horses get it too, right? You hear
Yeah.
about that.
Yes, absolutely. Humans and horses can definitely get infected if they're bitten by an infected mosquito. But here's a really crucial point. We're considered dead-end hosts.
Dead-end host, what does that mean exactly?
It means that while we can get sick, sometimes seriously sick, we don't develop enough of the virus in our blood to then infect another mosquito that bites us. So we don't really contribute to spreading it further in the cycle, unlike birds.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So our getting sick is almost like an accidental side effect of that main bird mosquito cycle.
That's a good way to put it, yeah. We're incidental infections. And that's really important for public health.
How so?
Well, because it means prevention efforts have to focus on controlling the mosquitoes and breaking that primary transmission cycle rather than, say, quarantining infected people.
Right. That really sharpens the focus on mosquito control itself.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the basic biology. Now, the big question. Why are we talking so much about West Nile this year, 2025? What's making it such a hot topic right now?
Yeah, that's the key question. The 2025 season, it actually picked off back in March, which is, fairly early for some places. And we've been seeing cases steadily increasing as we've moved into the warmer months. As of now, we're looking at least 10 confirmed human cases reported nationally, and probably over 20 suspected cases that are still under investigation.
10 confirmed already. Are these spread out, or are there specific areas we should be watching? Hotspots.
We are seeing some geographical clustering. Confirmed human cases have been reported. In California, they have 2. Georgia has reported 1. Kansas has 1. And Louisiana actually has 7 confirmed cases so far.
Wow, Louisiana with 7, that's significant.
It is. And seeing these confirmed cases this early in the season, especially in multiple states, it does suggest we might be heading into a more active season than, say, the last couple of years.
You also hear specific local reports bubbling up, like in Texas. It seems like they're seeing a lot of signals.
Yes, Texas is definitely an area with notable activity. For instance, Fort Bend County reported its first mosquito sample testing positive for WNV this year. Williamson County confirmed a human case just back on July 3rd. And Harris County, around Houston, they had a case confirmed last month. We also need to remember, sadly, that 4 people died from West Nile in Texas just last year, in 2024. So the potential impact is very real there.
Goodness, and Georgia too.
Right. Fulton County in Georgia, that's the Atlanta area, they've also found WNV in their mosquito surveillance pools. And this is all happening before the typical peak season. Historically, West Nile activity really ramps up in late summer. August and September are usually the peak months.
So if the peak is usually later, what's different about 2025? Are there specific reasons why this year might be shaping up to be, Well, worse.
There seem to be a few converging factors. First, many areas had unusually warm weather patterns early on, combined with some early spring rains. That combination is just perfect for creating mosquito breeding grounds, ideal conditions. And we have seen documented increases in mosquito populations in several states already this year.
Okay. Weather patterns, more mosquitoes. Anything else?
Well, there's the bigger picture context, too. Climate change is broadly understood to be playing a role. It seems to be lengthening the mosquito season in many areas, allowing them to be active for more months of the year. And it might also be helping mosquitoes expand their geographic range, moving into areas where maybe they weren't as common before. More time and more places for transmission.
That makes sense. It's this complex mix of immediate weather and longer-term trends. Okay, so if the risk is potentially higher this year, let's talk symptoms. What does this actually mean for you, the listener, if you do get bitten by an infected mosquito? You mentioned it's a spectrum.
It really is a wide spectrum. And again, the kind of insidious part is that roughly 80%, 4 out of 5 people who get infected have no symptoms whatsoever. They feel completely fine.
80% none. Wow.
Yeah, which means a lot of transmission might be happening silently, environmentally, without people even realizing it. That makes universal prevention, trying to avoid bites altogether, even more critical.
Okay, so for the 20%, the 1 in 5 who do get symptoms, what does that typically look like?
For that group, it's usually a mild, often flu-like illness. We sometimes call it West Nile fever. Symptoms can include things like fever, headache, body aches, maybe some joint pain. Sometimes people develop a rash, and fatigue is pretty common too. It usually resolves on its own.
So uncomfortable, like a bad summer flu, but generally not severe.
Generally, yes. But then there's the other end of the spectrum, the much more serious form.
Right, the neuroinvasive disease. That sounds alarming. How common is that?
Thankfully, it's much less common. About 1 in 150 infected people develop severe neuroinvasive disease. This is where the virus actually affects the central nervous system, the brain, and spinal cord.
And what does that look like?
It can manifest in a few ways. Encephalitis, which is inflammation of the brain, meningitis, inflammation of the membranes surrounding the brain and spinal cord, or sometimes acute flaccid paralysis, a sudden onset of muscle weakness. People might experience severe headaches, high fever, neck stiffness, disorientation, tremors, seizures, even coma or paralysis.
That's incredibly serious. Does it leave lasting effects?
It certainly can. Severe WNV disease can lead to long-term neurological problems like persistent weakness, fatigue, memory issues, difficulty concentrating, and sadly, it can be fatal. About 10% of those who develop neuroinvasive disease die.
And are certain people more at risk for this severe form?
Yes, definitely. People over the age of 60 are at significantly higher risk. Also, individuals with certain underlying medical conditions, things like diabetes, kidney disease, cancer, hypertension, or those who are immunocompromised, perhaps due to an organ transplant, they're also more vulnerable to severe illness.
Okay, so it's really crucial for older adults and people with those conditions to be extra vigilant.
Absolutely.
So, knowing how it spreads mainly birds to mosquitoes and then accidentally to us, how do public health agencies actually keep tabs on this? How do they track something where most people don't even know they have it?
It's a multi-pronged approach, really. They rely on surveillance. A big part is mosquito trapping and testing. Local agencies set traps, collect mosquitoes, and test them in labs to see if they're carrying the virus. That gives an early warning.
Like those positive pools found in Texas and Georgia.
Exactly. That tells them the virus is active in the mosquito population in that area. They also rely on human case reporting, of course. Doctors and hospitals report diagnosed cases. And in some areas, they also monitor bird populations, particularly dead birds, as die-offs in certain species, like crows and jays, can be an indicator of WNV activity. Sometimes they test sick or dead animals, too.
It sounds like they're piecing together clues from the whole environment.
Pretty much. It highlights how interconnected environmental health and human health are when dealing with vector-borne diseases like this.
So when they detect the virus, say in mosquitoes or a human case pops up, what happens then? What do local communities actually do?
Local health departments have a range of responses. Depending on the level of risk and activity, they might conduct mosquito control operations. This could be ground-based spraying in specific areas, or in some cases, aerial spraying to cover larger zones and reduce the number of adult mosquitoes.
The mosquito trucks we sometimes see or hear?
Right. They also typically issue community alerts, put out press releases, Use social media to inform residents about the risk and prevention steps. They might step up efforts to find and eliminate standing water breeding sites, maybe through targeted drainage programs or public education campaigns urging residents to dump standing water.
So education is a big piece, too.
A huge piece, because ultimately, a lot of the prevention comes down to individual actions.
Which brings us right to that. It really drives home the point. What you do personally in your yard, it matters, especially since, as you said, there's no human vaccine for West Nile, right? And no specific cure if you get it.
That's correct. And it's probably the most critical takeaway for people. There is currently no human vaccine available for West Nile virus, and there's no specific antiviral medication to treat it once you're infected.
So if someone gets sick, especially severely, what's the treatment?
Treatment is essentially supportive care. For mild cases, that means rest, fluids, maybe over-the-counter pain relievers for fever and aches. For the severe neuroinvasive cases, hospitalization is often required. There, they'll receive supportive care like intravenous fluids, pain management, respiratory support if needed, and nursing care to prevent secondary infections. But we can't directly attack the virus itself.
Which makes prevention absolutely paramount. It's the only real line of defense we have.
Exactly. Prevention is key.
Okay, so let's break down that prevention. What can we as individuals do? What are the most effective steps?
There are two main categories: personal protection and environmental protection, meaning managing the area around your home.
Let's start with personal protection. What's top of the list?
Using insect repellent is probably number one. Make sure you use an EPA-registered repellent. The most effective ones contain active ingredients like DET, picaridin, IR3535, or oil of lemon eucalyptus. That's the synthesized version, not the pure essential oil. Follow the label instructions carefully, especially for applying on children.
Repellent, check. What else?
Clothing can make a big difference. Wearing long-sleeved shirts and long pants creates a physical barrier. This is especially important during peak mosquito biting times, which are typically dawn and dusk. Also, make sure your home is mosquito-proof. Check that your window and door screens are in good repair, no holes or tears. Use air conditioning if you have it. And if you're sleeping outdoors or maybe in a cabin or structure without good screens, using a mosquito net can provide significant protection.
Okay, repellent, clothes, screens. Pretty straightforward stuff, but you have to be consistent.
Consistency is definitely important, especially during the active season in your area.
Now, what about that environmental side? You mentioned standing water. That seems like a big one.
It's huge. Mosquitoes that spread West Nile lay their eggs in or near standing water. Even a very small amount can be enough. Think a bottle cap, a fold in a tarp, a forgotten toy in the yard.
That's almost shocking how little water they need, isn't it? I remember a neighbor found like a whole ecosystem brewing in a bird bath they hadn't changed for a week after some rain.
That's a perfect example. So the key action is to eliminate standing water around your home and property at least once or twice a week. Walk around your yard. Empty water from flower pots, buckets, barrels, wheelbarrows. Check kids' toys, trash cans, anything that can collect water. Clean out your gutters regularly so they drain properly. Change the water in bird baths frequently. If you have pet water bowls outside, change that water daily. For things like rain barrels, make sure they're properly screened. If you have ornamental ponds, consider adding fish that eat mosquito larvae or use approved larvicides, sometimes called dunks.
So really being vigilant about any potential water collection spots.
Exactly. It's one of the most effective things you can do to reduce the mosquito population right in your own backyard. Also, maintain swimming pools properly, keep the water treated and circulating. Don't let stagnant water accumulate on pool covers.
And supporting those local spraying programs when they happen is part of it too, right?
Yes, if your local health department determines spraying is necessary based on surveillance data, it's an important tool to reduce the number of infected adult mosquitoes quickly.
Okay, so we've covered a lot on prevention because it's so critical. You mentioned no human vaccine, any movement there, or vaccines for animals.
There is ongoing research into human vaccines for WNV, but nothing has been approved or licensed yet. It's a complex challenge. However, there are effective vaccines available for horses. Horses are also quite susceptible to West Nile virus, and the disease can be severe or fatal for them too. So veterinarians strongly recommend vaccinating horses, especially in areas where WNV is common.
That's good to know about horses. And it brings up a broader point. West Nile isn't just a problem here in the U.S., is it? How widespread is it globally?
Oh, absolutely, not just a U.S. issue. West Nile virus has a very wide geographic distribution. It's found across North America, obviously, but also in South America, much of Europe, Africa, the Middle East, parts of Asia, and it's even shown up sporadically in Australia.
Wow, really global. Are other regions seeing similar trends or concerns as the U.S.?
Yes, there have been significant outbreaks and ongoing activity in other parts of the world. For example, Europe reported over 1,400 human cases and, unfortunately, more than 100 deaths just last year in 2024. Countries in southern and eastern Europe often see seasonal outbreaks. And maybe even more concerning, as a sign of its spread, the virus was detected in mosquitoes in the United Kingdom for the first time ever in 2023.
In the UK. That does suggest a northward expansion, doesn't it?
It certainly does. It points to the virus's adaptability, likely aided by factors like climate change and potentially bird migration patterns. It shows that this is an ongoing, evolving challenge on a global scale.
So what does that global presence, that adaptability tell us? What are the potential challenges ahead?
Well, it suggests that WNV is likely here to stay and may continue to expand its range. It underscores the need for ongoing surveillance, robust public health responses, and continued research, especially into vaccines and treatments. It also highlights how global travel and trade, combined with environmental changes, can facilitate the spread of infectious diseases. What happens in one part of the world can affect others.
A sobering reminder of how interconnected everything is. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here. As we start to wrap up this deep dive, let's crystallize the key takeaways for everyone listening. First, West Nile virus. It's definitely present, and it seems to be trending, maybe concerningly so, in 2025. We're seeing early activity, especially in states like Texas, Louisiana, Georgia, California.
Right. And remember that while most infections are mild or cause no symptoms at all, there is that serious risk of neuroinvasive disease, especially if you're over 60 or have certain health conditions. It's rare, but severe.
And critically, your best defense, really, your only primary defense is prevention, because there's no human vaccine and no specific cure.
Exactly. It comes down to those personal actions. Using EPA-registered repellents, wearing protective clothing, especially at dawn and dusk, and that environmental piece, diligently eliminating standing water around your home.
So let's make it super practical. What can you, the listener, do starting today?
Okay, concrete steps. If you can, try to limit your time outdoors during dawn and dusk when the mosquitoes that carry West Nile are most active.
If you're going out, especially during those times or in areas with mosquitoes, apply that insect repellent correctly.
Dress protectively. Long sleeves, long pants offer a good physical barrier. Light-colored clothing might also be slightly less attractive to some mosquitoes.
And do that walk-around check of your yard today or this weekend. Dump out any standing water you find. Make it a regular habit, maybe weekly.
And finally, stay informed. Pay attention to alerts or warnings from your local health department. They'll have the most up-to-date information on WNV activity in your specific area.
Simple steps, but they add up to real protection.
They really do.
So as we finish up, here's maybe a final thought to leave you with, building on that global context and the climate change discussion.
Consider this. As our climate continues to change, potentially making mosquito seasons longer and helping them move into new areas, what kinds of everyday adjustments might we all need to think about? How do we adapt to live safely with these evolving risks? Not just West Nile, perhaps, but maybe other vector-borne diseases that could follow similar patterns in the future.
That's a really important question to ponder. How do we build resilience in the face of these environmental shifts? Something for all of us to think about. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into West Nile virus. We hope you found it informative.
Stay safe out there, take those prevention steps seriously, and stay informed.